Good evening, everybody. Good evening. It's JPR, and today I'm gonna be laying down some facts. Today, I'm gonna be doing something that's never been done before. I'm doing the top 10 greatest video games ever made. Unlike my other videos, this one is completely objective. In fact, if you disagree, you might be very stupid. Just letting you know ahead of time. NASCAR 08 is the worst video game I have ever played. The cars drive awful, the damage is stupidly exaggerated, it's borderline unplayable on most tracks. I cannot believe that EA Sports, of all companies, would shamelessly swindle my $60 for this broken, terrible product. However, it is a NASCAR game, which means by default it has to be in the top 10 greatest games I've ever played. NASCAR Heat Evolution is an awful mess of a video game and a downgrade from the previous year's NASCAR games in almost every way, shape, and form. However, the car is at least somewhat drivable, which makes it more fun than NASCAR 08. NASCAR Heat 5 is a game I really wanted to enjoy. I really did! However, I could not make it run over 20 frames per second on my desktop, so I played the game for an hour and then refunded it on Steam. A pretty disappointing experience, but at least I didn't lose my $60 this time, so by default it's definitely way better than the previous two games on this list. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is one of the best video games I have ever played. More tracks than ever before. It's on a home console, but it's portable. You can have 2 items. The music slaps. At first I thought, anti-gravity in my NASCAR game? What kind of car of tomorrow nonsense did I get myself into? But it turns out it's actually pretty fun. Unfortunately, this game is flawed because they weren't able to license any of the real NASCAR drivers. So if you are a Dale Earnhardt Jr. fan, I have some very bad news for you. He has been replaced by Donkey Kong. This is why Nintendo really shouldn't make NASCAR games. Now this one is a classic game, revered by many for its excellent replayability, cutting-edge graphics, truly one of the games that defined the 1990s. That game is Bill Elliott's NASCAR Challenge. Now I know, this may be a controversial pick for many of you watching at home. After all, this is a notoriously hard video game, since you have to run a faster lap than the legendary Bill Elliott himself. Like, that's impossible. I wasn't even born in 1990. For this reason, many have labeled it as the Dark Souls of NASCAR video games. However, while the mechanics and graphics may not hold up today, it is the very first NASCAR game, which means by default, it has to be high up on this list. Remember, no matter how bad, grating, and unpolished the first game is, you have to like it because it's the first game, and if you don't, then people will hate you. Sorry, I don't make the rules. As I said before, this is an objective list. NASCAR 09. I didn't even bother driving the car this time. I just thought the paint booth was cool. It also has to be in the top 5 because Jeff Gordon is on the cover, and we all know that Jeff Gordon is the greatest NASCAR of all time. I'm sorry if you are a smooth-brained Jimmy Johnson fan, but all of his championships are fake and staged due to how bad NASCAR's playoff system is. Under a real man's point system, like the Winston Cup, Jeff Gordon would have 22 championships. Again, I don't make the rules. Fantasy NASCAR Online. You knew it had to be Fantasy NASCAR Online, the first MMO in the series. Now, originally, I had this game in the number 2 slot, but I had to bring it down because I single-handedly got the game nerfed. See, back in the day, you would get a point for every lap your drivers led. So when Martin Truex Jr. led 392 out of 400 laps in the 2016 Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, I got a lead so large that the other 35 races that year didn't mean anything. I told Martin he needed to hang back and not expose this loophole in the system, but he just kept turning left. I couldn't get through to him. So NASCAR had to change the point system to stop me from completely dominating every year. That's right, I'm the Jeff Gordon of Fantasy NASCAR. I was too good at it, and now they rig it against me. So since I am boycotting Fantasy NASCAR, it goes in the number 3 spot. Pokemon Sword and Shield. I just couldn't get over how many Pokemon were in Sword and Shield. I always complete my living dexes in every game, but in Pokemon Sword and Shield, I just stopped at 400. I didn't have the willpower to keep looking for all the others. I know that there are like 500 more Pokemon, but they're so exceptionally rare in Sword and Shield that it feels like they don't even exist at all. I have to applaud Game Freak for this bold spike in difficulty. Kudos to them. This is it, the game that changed games forever. NASCAR 2005 Chase for the Cup. From the moment you start it up, the game subverts your expectation by putting Kevin Harvick on the cover of the game, but you actually do a street race against Ryan Newman, of all people. Talk about a serious plot twist. Plus, you can race 4 different types of NASCARs. You've got modifieds, you've got trucks, you've got slow NASCARs, and you've got NASCARs. This fight to the top campaign is not for the faint of heart. Drivers will crash you back for racing like an idiot. Guys will try to fight you in the garage. The car is constantly handling on the edge of control, but at the same time, drives like a beauty. If you are wondering why EA Sports just quit trying to make good games so suddenly, it's because they knew they had created a masterpiece that will never be topped. Even though many companies have taken up the mantle of developing NASCAR games in the past 15 years, all of them have failed to recapture the magic of 2005 Chase for the Cup. Oh, no, 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 no!
Let the race come to you.
This video is sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.